Today we're going to talk about spending, consumption, and debt in America. So, how do you build wealth? I contemplated that question when I was in my mid 40s. Hey, a lot of people wake up then. I mean, they don't get the advantage we're trying to give you, but they wake up and they start to say, what's going on? How am I going to go ahead and land on a soft cushion of retirement one day? You know, I had put money in my 401k, but I didn't have a plan. Didn't always max it out. You know, it really, it was just haphazard. And a lot of people my age are in the exact same boat. So then I started asking myself some questions. So how much will I need to sock away for retirement? How long will that money last? Will I outlive my investments? Hey, where do I put it? This was the beginning of me trying to figure out my financial big picture. So I started reading, I was discussing with friends, and one day I had a eureka moment. I was actually on the road at a Hilton hotel, and I don't know why I remember this vividly, but I'm on the treadmill, it's overlooking the pool, and I was reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's a perpetual bestseller, sold over 32 million copies. And they'll sell an enormous amount this year as well because the book is just that good and that effective, and I recommend it. I learned, and I'm paraphrasing now, that the poor will always be poor because they take all of their income and they apply it towards expenses. Okay, so you get your paycheck and pay the rent, pay the utilities, pay your car note, pay your car insurance, pay your health care, put some groceries on the table, have some spending money, out of money, and you go back and wait for the next paycheck. So, although they sustained their life, they didn't really have anything left over to accumulate. Then he went on to say the middle class will toil for their whole career, and they'll have very little to show for it in the end. And the reason was they put their income on expenses and things they thought were assets that were not assets, like listing my boat is an asset. My furniture in my house is an asset. That new golf clubs I got, they're very expensive. That is an asset. That's nothing. No, it doesn't increase your wealth. To illustrate this, he made a very controversial statement. He said, your home is not an asset. Now, hold on. Many argued, my home is my biggest financial asset. I've been paying on it for 20 some odd years. Home values have risen over that period. I've got hundreds of thousands in equity tied up in my home. But Kiyosaki made a brilliant point. So I need you to listen up. This is important. He defined assets as income-producing assets. So you invest in it, and they have the ability to throw off cash to you. And he's right. If you have, let's say, $300,000 in equity in your home, and you live in it, you don't have access to those funds. That has nothing to do with funding your wealth in the future. Now, if you sell it, then invest the money and live off the income, fine. That's an income-producing asset. If you move out and you rent it and live off that income, fine again. Now you have income-producing assets. But if you choose to live in it, doesn't count. That's your choice. You have to build wealth and then draw off of those assets. That's why it's important for income-producing assets in later years in order to produce your retirement income. He goes on, the rich are rich because they have enough income-producing assets that they can go ahead and if they throw off enough money that funds the cost of their lifestyle. Ooh, that's pretty good. That sounds like it's going to go for a long time. And now dig this. The rich become wealthy when their income-producing assets not only throw enough to pay their bills today, but they throw off a surplus. And you know what they do with that surplus? They buy more income-producing assets. The rich getting richer. I thought this was incredible. Wow. So this is how you get income after career. But what were these income-producing assets? How do I find those? How do I get my arms around that? It's a pretty big notion. Well, there's basically 4 categories in a simple way. Real estate, a business, Wall Street, so stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and policies. So a pension, not many people are getting those anymore, but that's a policy that would produce revenue for you. Annuities, you can usually buy those from insurance companies where you might pay so much a month while you're in your working years, and then it pays you so much a month when you get to your retirement years for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or for the rest of your life. They're all set up in different ways. And then Social Security. So those are policies that can go ahead and become income-producing assets for you. But most of you, your initial drive, certainly at this period of your life, will be your 401k or your IRA. Now, I don't recommend you investing in real estate on the side in your 20-something years. And I don't really want you to go ahead and start a business in your 20-something years because it's going to zap your professional output. Remember, you want to go ahead and put all the energy in the early part of your career into being tremendously powerful professionally because that will be your wind to your back in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. So what I recommend is investing in the 401k, and if your employer matches, you immediately, on day one, get to the maximum of that match. Then I want you to contribute 15% of your income. And if you get a match from your employer, put it on top of this. But you put 15% of your income into long-term wealth building over the span of your career. It's going to be difficult to start with 15%, but we're going to show you a way to gradually grow that over time. But you've got to start to the top of the match when you get your first job. If you max out your contribution limits, so you're fortunate enough to move up the ladder at work and make a bunch of money, and guess what? Now you can't put 15% more in the 401k. It's hit its limit. Well, then what you do is you find another vehicle. You call a broker or something like that, and you figure out how to invest to get to that 15% number. Now put 100% of your attention to becoming great professionally, and that fuels your financial independence. That's how most people do it. So a question that comes up all the time when we're talking about our finances is debt good or bad? The answer is, yeah. The logic goes like this. Good debt is debt with a return on investment. So think of like your student loans. You spend money, you borrow money in order to go to college. And then because of that education, you can get a job that pays more than if you hadn't gone to college. You take that surplus and you go ahead and pay down the student loans. So it has an excellent return on investment. Unless you pick a weak major, you don't start thinking about employment while you're in college and you squander that early time. Or you rack up too much debt. You could actually not spend all of what you qualify to get in student loans, but you take the money anyway and turn it into spending money. You do that, that is a death sentence financially. Maybe not a death sentence, but certainly it's going to impede your growth. There's a great expression. If you live like a successful professional while you're in college, you're going to live like a student after college. Another example of debt with a good return on investment is real estate. Usually that performs well over time, and eventually it gets paid off. So what's bad debt? Bad debt is debt that pays for an expense or an item that depreciates. Okay, so like buying a car, getting a car note. That car is depreciating. That's not a good idea. A boat or an RV, it depreciates. To finance that, that's not a good idea. Or use debt to fund expenses, like I'm going on vacation. Hey, I think you ought to go on vacation, have a good time. Nights out on the town, fine. But here's the big lesson. If you can't pay cash for an asset that depreciates or an expense, you can't afford it. So what do? You save for it and then you pay cash. This is a key element of being wise with the money you earn. So let's hit another topic that we're all going to run into. I want to share with you a little bit about credit cards. This is an important lesson. You're going to learn that the status quo, being average, acting like everyone else, is really a challenging and maybe stupid way to go through life. It's also contrary to your best interest. So let's take a look at the data. There's 365 million credit cards in America as of 2020. 79% of Americans have at least one credit card or charge card, like a Macy's or a Gap. The average new interest rate on a credit card, according to WalletHub.com, is 18.35% at the time that I'm producing this segment. By comparison, the average mortgage rate is around 5%. So that credit card debt is 3.5 or 4 times more expensive than getting, say, a mortgage. That's incredible. It's extraordinary high interest rates. Most frightening, listen to this, 52% of credit card holders carry balances forward, meaning 52% don't pay their entire balance monthly. So what do they have? They have a short-term note that they're carrying with super high interest rates. So being normal, acting like everyone else, ought to scare the crap out of you. This is not being money wise. So how do you build wealth if you're kicking out nearly 20% interest on monies borrowed, your credit cards, and you're getting a fraction of that in long-term investments, let's say the stock market? Let me help you understand the credit card dilemma even more. My friend Terry Savage, she's one of my favorite financial authors, and I'm using this with her permission. This is from her book, and I highly recommend it, The Savage Truth on Money. She shares a powerful message about compound interest working against you. This is eye-opening when I share it with live audiences. So here we go, and let's try to do it virtually. Say you have $2,000 in credit card debt, and her example is the average interest rate is 19.8% with annual fees of about $40. So that's a ballpark of where we are today. It's just almost spot on. If you pay only the minimum payment, because they'll give you a bill and say this is how much you owe, but they calculate a minimum payment every pay cycle, how long will it take to pay off that credit card? Now, when I do this on college campuses with students live, they usually guess on between 5 and 8 years. Actually, it's 31 years, 2 months. And along the way, remember you had $2,000 where you started off, you paid $8,202 in finance charges. Wow! You see, the banks can't find anyone stupid enough to take out a loan with 20% interest. But via credit cards, they have a very willing audience. Look how big those numbers are, 52%. Don't let this be you. Be wise with the money you earn. Again, you can't get rich if you're making, let's say, 7.5% return in the stock market, but you're paying nearly 20% interest on your debt. That math just doesn't work. Savage takes it a step further. She's looking into another example, compound interest working for you. You take that same $2,000, you invest it in an index fund, let's say tied to the Standard & Poor. Many enjoy a 10% return from that. You put it in an IRA, so you have some tax protection. And the same 31 years, that $2,000 will grow to $38,000. Okay, so $38,000 you made versus $8,202 that you paid. You get it? Compound interest can work for you or against you, and it's your choice. Just be on top of it. Some advice about being money-wise. If you can't pay off your entire credit card balance when the statement comes in at the end of the month, you are dancing in the danger zone. Get rid of the credit cards and switch to a debit card, where it just goes ahead and only let you extract money that you already have in your bank account. You know, you're out of control, make some adjustments. Time is not your ally. If you're on the wrong trajectory, focus on getting on a budget and then cut spending. One of the best books of our time about personal finance is The Millionaire Next Door: The Surprising Secrets of America's Wealthy. It was written by Thomas Stanley and William Danko. The authors research a large group of self-made millionaires in America. They are trying to extract lessons from them on how they did it. And the purpose is to go ahead and relay it to people like you and me to see maybe we can do it too. So it's really a brilliant read. One of the most powerful concepts I learned from the book is that you must play both economic offense and economic defense. Remember, this is from research of lots and lots of self-made millionaires. So economic offense is endeavoring to make more money. So, you work hard at work, you move up, you get paid more. That's good offense. You're actually playing good offense now if you're in college because you're setting yourself up to make more money. Bravo. They go on to say, making more money, it's going to happen if you consistently apply yourself in a superior way rather than engaging in normal workplace behavior. Will you get that? You got to work harder than other people at work. You have to be more diligent than other people at work. You got to make this a habit that extends through your career, and then you'll be rewarded. As the authors put it, if you are the best in your field, hey, the money is going to find you. So what's economic defense? Economic defense is being wise with the money you earn. As they put it in the book, making money is only part of the equation. More importantly, it's how you spend or not spend the money that you've earned. By way of example, what do these millionaires next door do? What do they do different than most of the people at large? Well, for one thing, they don't buy new cars. You go on a showroom floor, you buy a car, you drive it off, and they say, 25% of the value or whatever it is disappears. They let the previous owner take that depreciation hit, and they don't do it. They don't carry monthly credit card balances. Okay, we just dealt with that. They don't think they know it all. So they're always trying to learn and get better and better and better. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about some great books on personal financing along the way, and start a reading list, and then start feeding your head with good material, every 6 months, 9 months, or a year. So especially in the beginning, that you're getting on the right track. They don't pay retail for name brand clothes. In the day of the internet, why would anyone pay retail and not get a deal? They don't keep their money in a checking account. They don't replace what's not broken. They got a 42-inch high-dev TV. Bravo. And then all of a sudden, well, now the Super Bowl's coming, and here's an 80-inch, blah, blah, blah. They go, wait, when the 42-inch, starts to die, then I'll get a great TV. They don't replace what's not broken. And they don't socialize with people who waste money, because then if your friends are doing crazy and reckless things and you tag along, well, you've got the same negative ramifications even if your heart's in the right place. Their research says, now please listen to this, this is powerful. If you play strong offense and strong defense, you can become rich. They go on to say, if you play moderate offense but really strong defense, you too can become rich. It's harder, but it can be done. But if you play strong offense and weak defense, you don't have a prayer in accumulating a lot of wealth and being rich. Oh, one more thing. If you play strong offense and strong defense, and you marry someone who plays weak defense, you cannot become rich. The Millionaire Next Door was published in 1996. It's amazing and timeless, and again, I suggest you reading it to advance your financial knowledge. Now, there's a new book out on this same quest to go ahead and say, what can we learn from America's most wealthy? It's written by Dave Ramsey. It's called Baby Steps Millionaires: How Ordinary People Can Build Extraordinary Wealth, and you can too. They interviewed, now dig this, 10,000 millionaires in America. And they, again, wanted to share the lessons that they did and compile this research and then see what they could go ahead and teach the rest of us. I recommend this book highly as well. Get it on your list. As I close out today's session, I want to introduce you to David Bach. He's a 10 times New York Times best-selling author. His blockbuster, The Automatic Millionaire, it's incredible. Put that on your list. I am discussing his work now because I recognize that some people can't or won't do a budget. Or if they do it, they won't stay, really glued to it. He has another approach, and it's called making it automatic. So in links and resources, we're going to go ahead and link you through to him, and he does this on the whiteboard, and it is brilliant, and you get the essence of it. They go into some more depth in his book, but this is really terrific, and that 8-minute video is, I think, priceless, and we'll point you to it. He shows another way on just how do you make all of your finances automatic. So, again, it's incredible, and I think you ought to go ahead and focus on that. Finally, if you get into financial trouble, what do you do? You might be hearing this and going, oh, wait a minute, I'm like 4 years out of college. My credit cards are maxed out. I don't feel like I have a plan. What do I do? I suggest turning to Dave Ramsey. Out of all of the financial authors of our time, he's got the most of it with a good 1, 2, 3 step-by-step approach to getting on the right side of things. I would recommend taking his Financial Peace University. It's a great course, and if you're in a relationship, take your partner to the course as well and both get into it and get on the same page. And then also read Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover, mega bestseller. Well, listen, we've covered a lot today. This is really important that you're wise with the money you make. And also, I think it came across loud and clear that you look to your left and you look to your right. And guess what? That is not the place you want to be. So carve out your path, go forward and be great. And I'll see you next time.